If an American stand-up comedian agrees to perform in the quasi-authoritarian country of Saudi Arabia for boatloads of money, are they a sellout? Also, what does that mean for the world stage if they accept? AKA, does our frenemy Saudi Arabia have a more nefarious plan to ingratiate itself in Western culture but without adopting the right values? Let's lock in.
Riyadh, baby, we're in Saudi Arabia. Come on. Get your tickets now. October 8th, the day after October 7th. Just funny how it all works. Not something that I had planned.
That was comedian Tim Dillon. I just saw him recently at the Stand Comedy Club in New York City. He's giving the skinny on the Riyadh Comedy Festival. Tons of big comics got invited with huge offers. So far, the roster includes Sebastian Maniscalco, SNL's Pete Davidson, Andrew Schultz, Bill Burr, Dave Chappelle, and many other faces you might recognize. It goes without saying that Saudi Arabia is not a free country. Our relationship with them is complex. We've done economic agreements, trade, defense, arms sales, energy. They're part of OPEC and provide a lot of the world's oil. So the reality of our relationship with the Saudis is complicated. We need their cooperation on many fronts. They need ours. But we have a long-standing position, regardless of which party is in power, of not legitimizing the Saudi regime and their human rights abuses and suppression of free speech. Saudi Arabia only lifted their ban on women driving in 2018. This is a country notorious for censorship, and apparently these comics going to the festival are going to have to sanitize their content to make sure they don't offend the government. Comedian Atsuko Okatsuka, who turned down the festival's offer, posted the event's contract online, which includes this: artists shall not prepare or perform any material that may be considered to degrade, defame, or bring into public disrepute, contempt, scandal, embarrassment, or ridicule the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, including its leadership, public figures, culture or people, the Saudi royal family, legal system or government, and any religion, religious tradition, religious figure, or religious practice. So that's like a lot of material off the table that is off limits. Kind of a bummer. And now I hear the argument that this is being presented presumably to the Saudi people. We don't blame them, we blame the rulers, just like we don't blame the poor citizens living under the Chinese Communist Party. You could also say this is spreading our values abroad. We're bringing an American art form to a foreign country. Except it's on the Saudis' terms. Tim Dillon tested this out. This is what happened.
Well, they have slaves, then they kill Hey. Get over it. So what? They have slaves. I imagine the slaves in those countries are good at what they do. Everyone that works at all the hotels, they take their passports. They're not allowed to leave. They're slaves. Hey, is the hotel nice? I'm not here to be a spoil sport. I'm not here to ruin the good time that everyone's having. Do I have issues with some of the policies towards women, towards the gays, towards the freedom of speech? Well, of course I do. But I believe in my own financial well-being. And I think you better start believing in that.
Tim, I love Tim. He's quickly become my favorite comic, by the way, called out the Saudis on their forced labor, on their repression of people, and they fired him. They were going to pay him $375,000. The comedy world is divided about the ethics here. For example, Rob Schneider, he's a comedian actor. He was in Grown Ups, pretty outspoken conservative these days, wrote on X. Performing stand-up comedy in Saudi Arabia is the same as staying in Berlin in 1939 and still performing for an audience of National Socialists, Hermann Göring, and Joseph Goebbels. Comedian Mark Marone had some words of his own.
Well, there's a Riyadh Comedy Festival. I don't know if you heard about that. This is true. There's a Riyadh, Saudi Arabia Comedy Festival. I mean, how do you even promote that? You know, like, from the folks that brought you 9/11, 2 weeks of laughter in the desert. Don't miss it!
A lot of the comics who accepted the gig, I have to say, are already really wealthy and famous. Yes, you have a right to take money from who you want, I guess, but do you really need a contract with the Saudis? Shane Gillis took the principled route.
They were asking me to go to the Middle East soon.
What? Where? Why?
Saudi Arabia and UAE or Dubai.
Dubai?
I think I'm going to pass.
Yeah. For the troops? Is it for the troops?
Not for the troops. It's for the Saudis.
For the Saudi princes?
Yeah, and everyone's like, yeah, you should do it. Everyone's doing it. It's like, for Saudis?
Yeah.
Weren't those the 9/11 guys?
And what message does it send that our comedians who pride themselves, supposedly, on irreverent honesty that ridicules everything, including people in power, equal opportunity offenders, as I'd like to say, are doing this festival? What about American Saad Ibrahim Al-Mahdi, who was sentenced for 16 years for tweets? He was banned from returning home to the U.S. The Saudis routinely imprison critics. Prisoners there are abused. They receive draconian sentences, sometimes including lashes, crucifixions, or public executions. And then there's the bigger geopolitical question. What is Saudi Arabia really up to? There's no doubt that President Trump has made some inroads with them during his last term and this one too. The possibility of getting them into the Abraham Accords has been floated, but they refuse to normalize relations with Israel until a path to a Palestinian state is established. This feels like a slippery slope. I don't know. Back during the Nixon administration, Henry Kissinger, he was our Secretary of State at the time, he was really keen on legitimizing China and integrating China into the global diplomatic system. And now, look where we are. China is still a quasi-authoritarian regime ruled by the CCP, except we have really big trade arrangements with them, and now our economies are inextricably and toxically linked. If you've bought anything on Amazon, you know everything is made in China. What is Saudi Arabia's long game? It could be insidious. They're trying to exercise their influence, clearly, in a more predatory way. Take the sport of golf. In 2022, the Saudi kingdom debuted LIV Golf, a rival alternative to the PGA Tour, and it immediately named retired legend Greg Norman as its CEO, signed another golf legend, Phil Mickelson, onto the tournament. In an interview, PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan told Jim Nantz that golfers who signed on with the Saudi Tour would probably feel the need to apologize one day. There's been the accusation of sports washing, this idea that the Saudis are effectively buying themselves a better public reputation, and major international sports competitions are eager to take the cash and make the kingdom look like a lovely oasis of freedom and prosperity. The Wall Street Journal wrote back then, Prince Mohammed bin Salman is using the kingdom's massive oil-funded sovereign wealth fund to buy businesses and influence in the West. In 2021, the PIF purchased the English Premier League soccer club, Newcastle United. It's invested in Saudi luxury resorts to draw wealthy Western tourists, including golf courses where one LIV tournament is being played. So the Saudis could be doing the same thing with comedy and other American institutions. They apparently are even funding the Metropolitan Opera. The Metropolitan Opera has signed an agreement with the Saudi Music Commission and the Royal Diriyah Opera House that will see the Met become the resident winter company of the Saudis' new Royal Diriyah Opera House upon its completion. So what do you think? Are these comedians engaging in a corrupt bargain? Is Saudi Arabia plotting a comeback, kind of like China did? And does that mean we're in trouble? Or is this embrace of the West and its recreational industries a good thing? In another country we are on better terms with sometimes, the UK, J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter star Emma Watson have been going at it online about the trans issue. Watson should have really checked herself before she wrecked herself here. For more on that, click here.